This starts as marriage advice and somehow ends with a man in prison and still not really responsible. So let's watch the clip together because one of the things you are going to notice here is logic is doing very, very heavy lifting.
100%. So the respect thing is very important. And a lot of women don't understand this. Your biggest power, look, I'm being honest. I tell this to sisters, yeah. Your biggest power is your femininity. No. Listen, if I'm, for example,
that's a beautiful thing.
Listen. I'm a human being. I have moments where sometimes I lose it on my wife. Yeah. I don't use none of this.
All of us.
Foul language, none of that. Yeah. But there's times where I raise my voice and I get angry. Yeah. But when I observe, look, there's situations where my wife starts giving me the big mouth as well. Yeah. And I say to her, have you observed in our situation where we always argue, you know, when you was quiet and that feminine side, yeah? And there's sides where sometimes you get agitated as well. But have you noticed my reaction? When I'm having my moment and she doesn't say nothing and she's in a moment, like being feminine, wallahi, 1 hour later I go out and say, you know, look, I'm sorry, man.
That it is. Men lose control, that's normal. Woman stays quiet, that is power. Oh, yes. The ancient art of fixing male anger by saying absolutely nothing. So when he explodes, she just absorbs it calmly, quietly, femininely. And if it works, wow, this is great system, this is great religion. If it doesn't, well, clearly she wasn't quiet enough. So did you pick up? Husband's lack of self-control becomes wife's failure to manage it. That's not wisdom. That is simply outsourcing responsibility. And that is just wrong.
Because the thing is here, that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, when he saw a female companion, he said, how are you with your husband? And he said, I try my best to please him to the best of my ability. For know that he is your hellfire or your paradise.
Don't ever pretend that's harmless. Your husband is your paradise or your hellfire. No pressure, right? In Christianity, Christ alone saves. In Islam, here, hope your husband is in a good mood because apparently eternal destiny now runs through marital satisfaction. This is leverage. If anyone comes to you and then simply says, that's what Islam teaches, you need to say no to that ideology. This is very, very dangerous. What we have, like, should I be saying like, well, congratulations, you just turned your marriage into salvation checkpoint? Seriously, no to Islam, no to these teachings. Now watch this carefully.
And the wife they got married to used his past against him that he's left behind, and he's told her, what you're doing, you're trying to bring out a dark side of me that I've tried to bury for a very long time. So he kept on advising her, got the imams involved and got people of knowledge, and she kept on using it to such a level, Akhi. He got provoked, which I don't rate.
We don't approve what he did, which is usually followed by 90 seconds of explanation exactly why he did it.
And she kept on using it to such a level, Akhi. He got provoked, which I don't rate, but he lashed out, Akhi. He started breaking everything, hurt her to such a level, ended up going to prison. He got provoked, which I don't rate.
Well, she provoked him. She used his past. She brought up his dark side. Oh, so the violence comes from her somehow. Because nothing says personal responsibility like, look, what you made me to do it. Let me put that as simple as I can, what we have here. If your explanation of abuse starts with sounding like defense, it probably is one. And did you notice the shift here? What started with a man committing violence and end up with a woman being psychologically analyzed like she's the real problem. That's not accidental. That is the system working exactly as it's designed. This is Islam half controlling the mind of Mr. Muslims. Yeah, it is woman's problem. It is the woman who made me to do it. And here comes the deflection.
Of course it is.
And then we need to speak about there's a lot of men in abusive relationships.
Yes, they do.
There's a lot of narcissistic, manipulative, gaslighting women.
Of course
out there.
there is, bro.
There is.
Also true, but watch the timing. This isn't about helping men. It's about softening what you just heard. Because apparently emotional frustration and smashing someone's life apart are now in the same category, right? Because hurt feelings and prison sentence are basically twins. That's not balance. That is simply deflection.
When you look at how the Prophet's wives lost their cool to the woman today, A'udhu Billah, don't come and give me that example.
No, of course
Yes,
not.
there was time Aisha had smashed the plate.
Yeah.
And the Prophet said, your mother got angry. I see that's masculinity.
No.
Because she's in the emotions, we don't. But look how Prophet dealt with it.
Now, suddenly, perfect example. Calm, controlled, patient. That's masculinity.
I see that's masculinity.
Some of you might say, wow, that's great. Agreed. So then I ask the question, why isn't that the rule instead of exception? Why is man losing control is the baseline, but restrain it highlighted realm? You don't get to say, follow this example while building a religion, building a system that assumes you won't. And then that just simply reminds you, very word of Allah in Surah 434, right? Let me just break this down. So that I can understand. Man loses control. That's expected. Woman stays silent. That is required. Violence is commanded, then carefully explained. And theology seals the deal. That's the perfect loop. Because you are excusing the behavior, shifting the blame, and reinforcing the structure, and then call it respect. At some point, you have to stop and then ask yourself, if a religion keeps producing the same contradictions, maybe the problem is not the people. Maybe it's the religion itself.